on it. Ooh! She will turn and burn.
Woo! Cooking.
She's cooking. Pilots, welcome back to the flying field, and today I'm excited about this flight. I'm going to be putting up the 1100mm La-7. Anybody who's been watching me for a little bit amount of time on Motion RC, I tend to like the birds that are harder to find in modeling. Obviously, love the Spitfires, love the Corsairs, Mustangs are great. But when I started with Motion RC, two birds popped out of me. One was the TA-152, which I got. Flight video is already out there in the build, but the next one was always the La-7. Now, from reading on the forums, this baby's been out a good number of years already. A lot of people are saying that just be careful with her on the ground because she does have a lot of power. She's 4S powered up front. And then I guess with the wing shape and just the profile, it could be a little squirrely on the ground. I just did my maiden before, and on takeoff, I did notice that as I was increasing throttle, she wanted to wiggle, but just maintain your rudder, just give it that right rudder, and then the second she leaves the ground, I punch to get out of dodge because I could see you tip stalling if you try to leave the ground without enough speed. But overall, I was really digging the maidens. She's super fast. She wants to be in higher throttle ranges more than she wants to be in lower ranges. So if you're getting a bird like this, you basically want to Reno race it around, and there is nothing wrong with that. So as far as CG goes, I'm using, again, 3000 Admiral 4S, and I have that pushed all the way up like any other 1200mm that I've flown, or 1100 in this FlightLine range. Whatever the recommended battery is, it's going to be up against the firewall and you're going to hit perfect CG. I've got an Admiral Stability Plus gyro in the back, and I have that on Combo C, so I can turn it off and on. During flight, I like to have that, especially if above these treetops it gets windy. With a plane this small, you might as well just add that extra level of detail with the gyro, man. It's gonna take out the wind and really help you out. As far as the aircraft itself, again, it's 6 channels, so you're getting throttle, aileron, flap, elevator, rudder, and landing gear. Let me flick the landing gear here. And you can see, looks great, you know, for what it is for this price. It's perfectly fine for you know, for an 1100mm Warbird. The flaps are split flaps, so you can see there. That's my half flap setting, and that's my full flap setting. I tend to stay at half flaps. I don't go to full flaps on mostly any of my Warbirds. I find that half flap is always more than enough. And then as far as my throws, again, I went by the book. I just lowered the elevator throws by 2mm. That's just been what I've been doing with these from their high rate. So whatever the high rate elevator was, I went 2mm lower. And aileron, I keep it on pretty much low ailerons all the time whenever I'm flying around. I prefer to just have the scale, you know, scale command in the air, and I like those lower aileron settings. But that'll do it for this little stand-up, guys. Let's take it for a flight. All right, guys, gonna taxi her up a little bit. Alex, focus on the tail quick. I'll show people my high rate. So right now, that is my high rate elevator, and that's low rate for reference. Mid, high, so I like to take off on high rates. And then when I land, I usually flip to high rate elevator just so I can sit the tail down at the very end. And again, guys, when you're taking this off, as I said in the beginning, I noticed on my first two, feet in the throttle. Obviously, you're gonna have to give some right rudder to balance out the left torque, but right as she's about to take off the ground, I punch it to get out of dodge. I almost tip stalled it on my maiden, but managed to save it because this bird just doesn't want to sort of take off as slowly as you would say the Bearcat in this size range or the Spitfire. They seem to take off. No discernible difference from those to, let's say, a 1600mm Spitfire or Corsair. They'll just lift off like other Warbirds. But that's all I got to say on the takeoff. So Alex, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, brother, taking off now. And again, gonna feed in the throttle, get her up to speed, stay on that right rudder, and then punch it. And she goes out. Let's get the gear up. And we're starting to get some breeze up on the sky. Here we go. Now I'm gonna bring her in for a full throttle pass. And look at that full power. Gonna bring her up. Look at the vertical. Vertical for days. Tamisha reminds me of a Reno racer. Flying this bird feels more like you're flying one of those, you know, aerobatic sport RC aircraft. But she looks so good. Now, out of the box, you do have, I believe, 6 schemes to choose from. Now, the way this aircraft is painted, it is painted scale for just the main scheme that you've seen everybody put it in. The scheme I went with was just being contrarian. I like the red, all red nose, so I added some red paint to it. Really makes it pop, but I would have to paint the tail and paint really the whole aircraft if I wanted to be scaled to the scheme, but, you know, maybe we'll get there. But I wanted to maiden her first before I did any extra work, because your maiden could be your last flight, and then you do all that work for nothing. Always maiden your aircraft before you do any customization. So now let's bring her in again. I am still on high rate, so I have not gone to low rate. Let's see her roll. Bringing her up, and look, she's so agile. But you can see that? Like when she stalls, so let me try to stall her out a little bit. And look, she can get a little squirrely in slow speed. So that's really the only noticeable thing about this versus the other 1100s. She'll just keep you on your toes a little bit. You're going to want to fly her over 50% throttle, and then you're gonna have no problem. So now I'm switching to low rate. Let's see how low rate is on a roll. Nice, much more scale, a little less aggressive. Let's hammerhead it. Now I don't do any rates on my rudder. I always give myself full rudder authority. Only thing I do is I obviously put some expo in it. Let's bring it in and let's, oh, she will inverted very nicely. And now I'm gonna bring her in again. A nice slow pass. That's about half throttle. But now watch, when I punch it, see, she'll wanna do, you know, just she has so much power with that big pack up front with the 3000 4S. But this is where you wanna be, coming right out the camera, we'll take it up. Oh, and she sounds so nice too. I almost think she sounds better than the Bearcat or the Spitfire, to be honest. Ooh, she will turn and burn.
Woo! Cooking.
She's cooking. Nice. So let's see if we can bring her in for, I'm gonna come in right to left. Actually, let me turn her around there. I prefer right to left landings at this field, especially when I have the option based on the wind. But let's try a touch and go, Alex. So now I'm at 50% throttle. I'm not using flaps for this. I'm gonna drive it on the ground, a little lower than 50% now. There we go. It was a tap and go. But looking at my timer, I'm at 1 minute and 11 seconds. Again, I set a 5-minute timer for this on a 3000. That was just based on recommendations that Alpha had given me earlier this morning on the phone when I told them I had the La-7 out here. Full throttle again. And we're gonna go vertical one more time. Give it a happy roll. And woo! Love it. Point that nose down. Get that airspeed. And just follow it through. Wow, she's a lot of fun. You guys like racing birds with a scale look? Can't beat the La-7 as far as that front goes. And again, now I am at low rate elevator and aileron. So now looking at my timer, I am 24 seconds. So I think it is time to drop the gear here. I'm gonna set up my down leg, get into my final leg. And now we're gonna go half flaps. Little power into the turn, and we're gonna bring it in. almost the same way I did it on that touch and go before. That's what I'm going to try for. Am I perfect? No. But I'm going to go off the edge and sit that tail down. Hey, we didn't go off the runway.
That's a victory.
Perfect. I would have liked to hit a little closer, but I will take that, guys. Drive her home when you're bringing her in. But on the ground, as far as being like too squirrely, I mean, yeah, I just think if you know, you got to be ready for it is the best way to say it. But guys, you've seen me fly now. I am no expert. I'm never going to sit there and try to tell you what you should do. But look, if I can fly this thing and take it off and land it, you're going to be able to have a ton of fun. And I'm sure not too many people are going to have an La-7 at their FlightLine. And it is, and I think from pound for pound, it's probably faster than the Bearcat and the Spitfire is my thought. But let's take a look at the battery pack, because I did bring my cell checker. And boom, I'm at 14%. So I was getting there, but that's because with a bird like this, you're at full throttle most of the time. So you're gonna burn some battery, but with a 3000 up front, I'm at 3.7, 3.7, 3.7 across the board. So I had maybe...
Show the people.
Oh,
show the
sorry.
People
I did not show the people. Let's see, can you see there?
Tilt it down a little bit. There you go.
See it? And that's each 3.7, 3.7, 3.7, 3.7. So 13%, but again, if it's a Warbird that you're going to be flying around, with a lot of power, you can expect that your battery is gonna be a little lower when you land. But that was still a 5-minute flight, and I was again over 50% throttle, probably the entire flight. But overall, guys, I really love it. I think she looks cool. There's so many different schemes out there you can do. So if you're a customizer, then customize galore with the La-7. But I just thought it was an interesting shape and just an interesting subject, and something that is just different from usual Spitfires, Corsairs, and Mustangs. So that'll do it for this flight, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about this, head over to the comment section of this YouTube video. Jump on Hobby Squawk 2. This plane's been out a while. So many guys have put it through its paces over the years. All that information is going to live on our forums forever, which is great access information. And if you're just purchasing an La-7, be sure to stay tuned, or be sure to check out. We have a build and a step-by-step assembly video. So there are some tweaks to the assembly that I did just to save you in the long run. Just makes it a little easier putting together. But there's hardly much to assemble on this bird anyway, but it could take a fast job and make it even faster. So that'll do it for us, guys, here with the La-7. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next video.